Hi, I have a bit of a rhetorical question because I know the answer is yes, because we're all human. But I'm going to ask it anyway. Have you ever been in a situation where you're interacting with somebody, either in a conversation or you receive a text or an email, and something that they said just really sets you off? And a lot of times we'll call this a trigger. It's like every cell in your body is just like, like lights up in a way that doesn't feel good, not in the good kind of light up. And you feel this impulse to address it right then. So you feel like you need to fire off some sort of comment or immediately reply to that text with some sharp words or whatever. And in many instances, we do that and then regret it. So this is like where you say, yes, I have been in that situation, because we all have in some way, at some level. And we usually regret what we say in these moments. And in fact, in relationships, sometimes what's said in these moments become huge attachment injuries that linger for years. So sometimes when couples come into couples therapy, one of the partners will say something along the lines of, well, I remember years ago you said XYZ to me and I never forgot it. It really broke my heart and I will never see our relationship the same way. So what we say to the people who matter to us, even when we're triggered, is super important, especially in relationships where we want to protect the trust and the safety of that relationship over time. It's not that you can't heal from those moments, you absolutely can. But if we can do things to take steps to avoid attachment injury, it's definitely more expedient to do that. Um, so, this gets us onto the topic of how to really take good care of our nervous system in the middle of a trigger. I feel like whether you are addressing your marriage or your partnership with somebody and you're curious about how to navigate triggers, or whether you just as an individual would really like to be able to learn how to take better care of yourself in moments of trigger, it's a super, super important topic. And really, it's a mindfulness topic. So that's kind of why I love talking about it, because I love all things that have to do with that intersection between the mind and the body, and really like the benefit of being very somatically aware of what signals our body is sending us at any given moment. So first I'll say that in order to take really good care of yourself and your relationships in situations like that, a first step is really to start to adopt some sort of mindfulness or mindful awareness practice where you just really start to pay more attention to your body's cues. And you hear this in most of my videos, that like really at the most basic level, you don't necessarily need to meditate. You can really just if you wanted to just have a really straightforward practice, you could set your timer for 3 times a day, and when your timer goes off on your phone, you will stop what you're doing and you'll check in on your body. What do I feel and where do I feel it? What is my body? Am I hungry? Do I have a headache coming on? It's just sort of this somatic scan, and getting used to doing that is a really important first step, because if you don't know that you're triggered until hindsight, then it's very hard to navigate triggers differently. So, getting aware of sort of reconnecting the mind and the body, repairing any rupture in terms of the body's ability to send signals about its states to our awareness, that needs to be healed as a first step, so that when we are triggered, we're not completely oblivious to that fact. But once you have some sort of basic mindful awareness started, you don't even need to have perfected it. You will likely be able to notice the moment that you're in a trigger. So it's like you get the text and you're like, what do I want to say? Right? And so the first step after mindful awareness, when you get that hit of awareness that you are triggered, is to pause. I can't say enough about the power of the pause. And the reason being, in those moments, our nervous system is kicking into fight or flight. And when it's in fight or flight, it truly believes that it's trying to save our lives from the bear that's chasing us. But really, there's no bear, right? But it doesn't know that. It just knows that we're in fight or flight. It's sending all kinds of adrenaline and cortisol into the body to prepare for either fleeing from a threat or having to fight a threat or whatever the case may be. And in these moments, we really don't need our adrenaline and cortisol to prepare to fight or to run or whatever. And so a pause allows us to be really compassionate to our poor body that is being flooded with all of this extra activity on the inside. While we're in fight or flight, we're also not going to be able to have really great access to this really wise part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, where we do a lot of like creative problem solving and have all kinds of intellectual thought. It's not that you can't have any access to it. It's just that most of that activity is diverted to a more basic part of the brain that's like associated with just pure survival. So, in those moments, that's why it's hard to say anything smart. If you make a comeback, it's going to be really a low blow. It's going to be really, it's not going to be thoughtful because it's not because you're trying to be mean, it's because it's very hard to access your wise brain. So, since we can't be super smart in those moments, and since our body needs to be given our top priority first, the pause allows that. And for couples, what this means is that what I'll ask them to do oftentimes is beforehand agree that anytime one of them asks for a pause, they both honor it. There's no question. Otherwise, what will happen is one will ask for the pause and the other and will walk away and the other will pursue and want to resume the conversation. That's very damaging and can really like lead to even more trigger. So both partners have to decide that they're going to honor the pause always. And with the understanding that there will be a circle back conversation where things can continue, but that it just isn't wise to do that now. And once a couple can agree to that, and I'm mainly just talking about the couple's part of this for this moment, then it becomes the responsibility of one or the other to acknowledge we need to pause this conversation. We're not hearing each other. We're in fight or flight. This is not going to be productive right now. Or just say, I need a minute. And the other person will know what you mean because you've talked about it ahead of time. And then, regardless of whether you're in a couple situation or you're just replying to a text, this is all about just turning toward yourself then. Once you've taken a hot minute, if you are replying to it, wanting to reply to the text, you put your phone down, you walk away from the computer. If it's an email, you really get some distance. Maybe you go outside, maybe you go to your room, maybe if you're at work, you go to the bathroom. Like you get some privacy and distance so that you can turn your full attention toward your nervous system. And in these moments is where you do some reparenting. You listen to what your body is saying, like, how dare they, blah, blah, blah. I feel so, blah, blah, blah. You listen to all of that coming up and you listen with compassion. You listen, you do the job of tending to the wound on the inside that got triggered in the moment, but you do it from the standpoint of loving inner parent. You're listening as a loving inner parent so that this part of us that is sort of like reacting like toddler age, it's a very young part of us, can start to slowly calm down in the same way a parent might start to take their toddler from throwing a fit into a calm state. You're ideally going to meet them where they are and help them rest on your steady state to calm themselves down. That's what you're doing for yourself. When we're in fight or flight, we're activated in our sympathetic nervous system. When we're calming ourselves down, we're trying to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about a physiological state that facilitates rest and digestion, resting and digestion. It's the peaceful place. And it's why when we're in fight or flight, we don't digest our food well because we're not in a rest or digest place. So getting yourself used to noticing when you're in fight or flight and then taking a pause from your life so that you can turn your attention toward your body and make it a priority. Make your body aware that I actually am listening to the response that you're giving me. I have mindful awareness, a connection with you. I'm repairing that connection with you. And I'm going to assist in bringing that heart rate back down, establishing safety in the body, And then once we're there, we can sort of get up and resume. And by then, we'll have access to the wiser part of our brain, and we can actually sit and problem solve. Maybe even if you need to pull out a piece of paper and draft out what you want to say in your text, or create a draft text, or if you need to turn around and do that circle back conversation with your partner, that you get clear with yourself what you want to say, what the issue was. And there's a whole host of things that I recommend, including in a circle back with a partner after a pause. I won't get into all of that. But the whole goal is to basically send the message that we're not being conflict avoidant. We are resuming our conversation, but we're not resuming it until we are in a calmer state so that we can have as much success as possible talking about a hard topic by doing it in a regulated state as opposed to trying to do it in fight or flight. So I feel like this is super important because what it allows us to do is be really loving and kind in relationship to other people, while also being really loving and kind in our relationship to ourselves. We're not having to self-abandon. We're actually listening to our body. We're repairing our connection with inner parts that were triggered by taking that pause. But we're also then not doing damage in our important connections with other people because we're not lashing out. All of that said, I will add, doing the pause is harder than it sounds like it would be. So it takes some practice. Learning how to actually, just the act of like putting the phone down and walking away before sending the text is hard when every cell in your body is saying, act now, act now, act now. Your body is telling you to act now because it thinks it's an emergency. All of the adrenaline and cortisol in your body is telling your body that it's an emergency, but that's a lie. 99.9% of the time, it's not urgent. It's not an emergency. It doesn't need to happen right now. And because your body thinks you're being chased by a bear, of course it's going to tell you you need to do it now, but it's lying to you. So recognizing that, okay, my body is trying to tell me I need to act now for survival reasons, and I acknowledge that's simply not true. So it's safe for me to put this phone down or to ask for the pause and walk away. It sounds simple, but it's really hard to override a function that our body naturally has in place for survival. It's really hard. So it does take practice, but the practice is so worth it because we have healthier relationships with self and other that comes out of that. I hope this was helpful, and I will hop on with a new video soon.